What's happening YouTube? Dan Reese here from ZebranoWoodcraft.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make one of these Wooden Steampunk Gear Rings, aka the fiddliest goddamn project I ever did. I know you're probably thinking that if Pinocchio made an Etsy shop with Howl's Moving Castle, this is probably the type of stuff that they would sell. You know what they say, time flies like an arrow, fruit flies like a banana. So let's make us a Wooden Steampunk Gear Ring! The first thing to do was gather a load of tiny cogs, dials and general watch bits. The subtle way to do this would be to dismantle the watches with a tiny screwdriver. But I opted for the least fussy approach, which was just to rip the watches to bits with the pliers. Turns out that destroying watches with the pliers is actually pretty good fun, and I just carried on until I had a pile of usable watch bits. To make my wooden ring, I used the bent wood method with wood veneer. I sliced up a length of tineo and sanded a taper into one end of the wood until it was paper thin, and then soaked it in water for about 20 minutes. I wrapped the wood up with masking tape around a wide socket to help prepare the wood for bending. Normally I'd let the wood dry overnight, but in this case I used a hairdryer to speed things up a little. Alright, so there's the boring bit over. I've got my curly whirly wood veneers and this bag of watch bits. So now I'm going to get on to the exciting bits and actually make the ring. To make this two-toned bentwood ring, I started by test wrapping the tineo wood around a former, i.e. a socket. I wrapped the wood around once, and then added about a centimetre and snipped away the excess wood. This left me with one layer for the inside of the ring. I sanded the newly cut edge until it was paper thin, wrapped the wood around my former, and then applied a little CA glue to the overlapping flap and glued it down. Forming the outside of the ring was pretty much the same deal, but I cut enough wood for 2 layers. I worked slowly and steadily, applying a little glue and wrapping the wood around the former, ensuring that each wrap was nice and tight. A little bit of my glove actually got stuck to the ring, but I'd rather that than chunks of my actual skin. Next, I sanded one edge of the ring flat using a figure of 8 motion on some 240 grit sandpaper. Then, using a marking gouge, I scored a line on the other side of the ring so that I knew where to sand down to. This ensured that the ring was an equal width all the way around. With my bentwood ring formed, I scored lines to mark out where to carve the channel for my inlay. Alrighty, so we've got a basic bentwood ring here. Now what we need to do is carve a massive inlay in the middle. Trying to get about 5 to 6 mil worth of like inlay groove so I can stick all those watch parts in. So time to get filing, I guess. I mounted the ring onto a wooden spindle on my lathe and carved out a groove with a set of files. I'll be honest, my camera ran out of battery and I missed most of this process, but you get the idea. I cut a series of thinner grooves with a triangle file and then just connected them up with progressively wider files. Okie dokie, so I've cut an inlay channel into the ring, and what I've done is I've basically gone ahead now and painted that inlay channel in black. I laid out all of the watch parts and prepared to lose an hour of my life. To set the watch parts into the ring, I applied tiny amounts of super glue and then positioned each piece individually with the tweezers and cocktail sticks. Some of the cogs were a bit big, but I was able to snip them to size with a clipper and file down the rough edges until they sat nicely into the inlay channel. I won't lie, it was tedious work, but I gradually worked my way around the ring, setting the tiny gears, watch hands and cogs until the inlay channel was completely filled. Yes! I am mega happy with this. Check this out. There we go. So I've got all my cogs and watchy bits on there. I think it looks super cool. And now it's time to finish him! Finishing was by far the most delicate part of the process. I used CA glue, aka super glue finish, to protect the ring from the elements and make the details in the wood grain come to life. I applied small amounts of glue to every surface of the ring using a cocktail stick and zooshed a bit of activator spray in between every coat to help the glue to cure. The inside and edges had 8 coats, while the outside took many more. If I'm honest, I just lost count. Alright, that's looking pretty rough right now, but we've got to finish on there. Final stage is polishing. To polish the ring, I sanded it with progressively finer grits of sandpaper, working from 320 grit right up to a 12 billion grit. I sanded the inside and the edges by hand, which is actually a great way to get arthritis, and spindle mounted the ring to sand the outside. When the surface was even, smooth and ridiculously shiny, my job was done. Man, it must be said, I am mega happy with that ring. It was fiddly, it was hard, I learned a bunch of stuff, I messed up a bunch of times, but I learned something new and I hope that you did too. If not, I just hope that you're inspired to make something awesome. As always, thank you for watching, subscribe and I'll keep them coming. Safe!